In 1789, George Washington, the revered hero of the American Revolutionary War, took office as the first president of the United States. The nation looked to him for guidance and direction in forging a path towards unity and prosperity after securing victory in their fight for independence. Understanding the importance of diverse perspectives, President Washington formed his historic cabinet. Thomas Jefferson, a brilliant statesman and diplomat, became Secretary of State, bringing his vast knowledge and visionary ideas to the new republic. Alexander Hamilton, a financial genius, served as Secretary of the Treasury, presenting his comprehensive financial plan to stabilize the economy and strengthen the federal government's credit. Henry Knox, the esteemed military leader, took on the role of Secretary of War, responsible for national defense and the relationship with Native American nations. Hamilton's ambitious financial plan faced resistance from some states, particularly the southern agrarian states, who feared it would favor industrialized regions and the wealthy. Washington faced the daunting task of navigating these divisions and convincing Congress to pass key elements of the plan, including the establishment of the National Bank, which he believed would be instrumental in fostering economic growth and stability. The National Bank, chartered for 20 years, served as a central repository for federal funds, issued a stable national currency, and provided loans to stimulate economic development. To address the nation's Revolutionary War debt, Washington supported Hamilton's proposal to assume state debts and consolidate them into a national debt. While this faced opposition from states that had already paid off their debts, Washington believed that a strong federal government would require financial stability, and that assuming state debts would further bind the states to the federal government. Tensions rose between Great Britain and France, both vying for American support in their conflicts. President Washington, guided by his desire to protect the young nation from foreign entanglements, chose a path of neutrality. This decision was met with mixed reactions, with some expressing gratitude for avoiding war, while others criticized him for not supporting America's former ally, France. This policy of neutrality allowed the United States to focus on its internal development and avoid unnecessary entanglements in European affairs. Furthermore, in 1793, during the French Revolution, Washington issued the Neutrality Proclamation, affirming the United States' stance of not taking sides in the ongoing conflicts in Europe. This proclamation not only demonstrated Washington's commitment to preserving the nation's independence, but also set a precedent for the executive's authority in matters of foreign policy. As his time in office neared its end, Washington delivered his farewell address, a poignant and heartfelt message to the American people. He urged them to remain united as one nation and to prioritize the common good over sectional interests. He cautioned against the dangers of political factions and warned of the potential consequences of foreign alliances. George Washington's principled leadership and legacy as the father of our country left an indelible mark on the office of the presidency and the destiny of the United States. His commitment to the ideals of liberty, justice, and unity served as a guiding light for future generations of Americans. Today, his image and influence endure as a symbol of the nation's founding and the enduring strength of its democratic institutions. In 1797, John Adams assumed the presidency as the second president of the United States. As a dedicated patriot and founding father, he faced significant challenges in guiding the young republic that had recently gained its independence from Great Britain. Amid escalating tensions with France, Adams navigated the Quasi-War, an undeclared naval conflict that tested his ability to preserve American sovereignty and honor. France's aggressive actions against American merchant ships threatened to plunge the young nation into a full-scale war. Adams resisted calls for open conflict, instead choosing diplomacy to defuse the situation. Through skilled negotiations, he secured the Convention of 1800, effectively ending the Quasi-War and restoring peace with France. The XYZ affair, which unfolded during Adams' presidency, strained relations between the United States and France even further. When American diplomats arrived in France for negotiations, French officials demanded bribes, referred to as X, Y, and Z, before engaging in talks. This blatant attempt at extortion deeply offended American pride and fueled anti-French sentiments within the country. To address fears of foreign influence and internal dissent, Adams signed the Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798. These controversial measures granted the government powers to deport non-citizens considered dangerous and to prosecute those who criticized the government, particularly those perceived as sympathizers to France. The Sedition Act in particular drew significant criticism from Jeffersonian Republicans, who viewed it as an infringement on freedom of speech and the press. In 1800, the presidential election witnessed a fierce contest between Adams and Thomas Jefferson. Adams, representing the Federalist Party, and Jefferson, leading the Democratic Republican Party, engaged in spirited campaigns. Despite Adams's notable accomplishments, such as steering the nation through the Quasi-War and avoiding open conflict with France, Jefferson secured victory, marking the first peaceful transfer of power between political parties in U.S. history. Post-presidency, Adams retired to his Massachusetts farm, dedicating his time to intellectual pursuits and rekindling a friendship with Jefferson through correspondence. Their letters, exchanged over several years, revealed their shared concerns for the future of the nation, and the once rival leaders found common ground in their desire to promote the principles of democracy and the preservation of the Union. John Adams's presidency left a significant impact on the young republic. He emphasized the importance of preserving national sovereignty, safeguarding American interests, and navigating foreign relations with diplomacy and tact. Despite the challenges he faced and the controversies surrounding some of his policies, Adams's commitment to the principles of democracy and the well-being of the nation served as a guiding force for future leaders as the United States continued its journey towards becoming a prosperous and unified nation. His diverse cabinet, including Timothy Pickering as Secretary of State, Oliver Wolcott Jr. as Secretary of the Treasury, James McHenry as Secretary of War, and Samuel Dexter as Secretary of the Navy, provided essential expertise during a time of significant challenges. Timothy Pickering's tenure as Secretary of State was marked by diplomatic achievements, including the peaceful resolution of a maritime dispute with Portugal. Oliver Wolcott Jr.'s prudent fiscal management helped stabilize the nation's finances, laying the groundwork for future economic growth. James McHenry diligently worked to modernize and expand the U.S. military, bolstering national defense capabilities. Samuel Dexter, a skilled negotiator, played an instrumental role in the resolution of the Quasi-War. Through their collective efforts and Adams's leadership, the nation weathered stormy waters and continued its quest to establish a stable government that would endure the test of time. John Adams's presidency stands as a crucial chapter in the early history of the United States, as it laid the foundation for future leaders to build upon, and his contributions to the nation's development continue to be commemorated and celebrated. In 1801, Thomas Jefferson assumed the presidency of the United States, becoming the third president in the nation's history. As a visionary leader and one of the founding fathers, Jefferson faced significant challenges and opportunities in guiding the young republic that had recently gained its independence from Great Britain. One of the immediate challenges Jefferson confronted was the menace of the Barbary pirates in the Mediterranean. These pirates had been seizing American merchant ships and holding American sailors for ransom. Jefferson, determined to protect American interests and sovereignty, took decisive action. He bolstered the U.S. Navy, authorized the deployment of American naval forces, and launched the First Barbary War. The conflict resulted in successful peace treaties that put an end to the piracy threat and secured the safe passage of American ships in the region. Back on American soil, Jefferson set forth his vision for the nation's future. He believed in a government with limited powers, safeguarding individual liberties and respecting states' rights. In pursuit of his agrarian ideals, Jefferson aimed to reduce the national debt and lower taxes, easing the financial burden on the American people and promoting economic growth. In 1803, Jefferson negotiated the Louisiana Purchase with France, effectively doubling the size of the United States. The vast land deal not only secured valuable resources, but also opened up new opportunities for westward expansion and settlement, paving the way for the nation's territorial growth. However, Jefferson's presidency was not without challenges. The Napoleonic Wars raging in Europe presented dilemmas for the United States. Both Britain and France imposed restrictions on American trade, putting the nation's neutrality at risk. Jefferson's response was to pursue a policy of economic coercion through embargo measures, which aimed to pressure the warring nations into respecting American rights. Unfortunately, This approach had unintended consequences, leading to economic hardships for American merchants and discontent among the populace. Despite the difficulties, Jefferson remained steadfast in his commitment to preserving American neutrality and avoiding entanglements in European conflicts. His dedication to democratic principles and individual freedoms was also evident in his efforts to protect freedoms of the press and promote an informed citizenry as essential pillars of a functioning democracy. Upon the end of his presidency in 1809, Thomas Jefferson retired to his beloved Monticello estate in Virginia. There, he continued his intellectual pursuits and maintained a lively correspondence with prominent figures of his time. His retirement years were characterized by a deep interest in education and culture, reflecting his belief that an enlightened and educated citizenry was essential for the well-being of the nation. Thomas Jefferson's presidency left an indelible mark on the United States. His visionary leadership, commitment to democratic ideals, and emphasis on territorial expansion and economic growth shaped the course of the nation's development. His contributions as a founding father and visionary president continue to inspire generations, reminding us of the enduring importance of freedom, democracy, and the pursuit of a better future for all Americans. As the United States journeyed forward, Thomas Jefferson's legacy remained a guiding light, shaping the nation's identity and inspiring the pursuit of liberty and equality for all.